If you're looking to lose weight, late night snacking is one of the worst offenders to achieving your weight loss goals. I'm sharing why it is that you crave snacks or desserts at night and how you can actually stop these late night cravings in today's video. All right guys, if you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am, my name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition human performance. On my channel, I'm typically talking about the science-backed and holistic methods that you can use in order to achieve your wellness dreams. So if you have a wellness goal in mind, make sure you subscribe. Okay, but before we can actually stop these cravings, it's essential that you understand why this is happening. And it really all boils down to 5 different mistakes. First is that you ate way too little during the day. And honestly, this happens a lot more than you might think. Typically, cravings are a way for our body to ask for something. For example, craving something salty could be a sign of an electrolyte imbalance, or having sugar cravings could be a sign of low blood sugar or hypoglycemia. Not eating enough food during the day can also trigger those same cravings for something salty or something sugary in order to get a fast source of energy to replace what it didn't get earlier. This is the main reason why I see semi-starvation, calorie-restrictive type of diets fail on a pretty consistent basis. Your body's internal balancing mechanisms nearly always will win out and cause you to eat again. Which is why with my clients in the AM Peeps, I often see one of the main causes of snacking or feeling the urge to snack or having late night snacking cravings all boils down to simply just not eating enough during the day. Now, the second main mistake is that you probably ate too many sugars or refined starches at dinner. Now, if you've been here for a while and you're not new to my channel, then you're probably a little bit familiar with the hormone insulin. But just in case, insulin is our storing hormone. It's what's triggered when we eat carbohydrates and triggered in even larger amounts when we eat starches and sugars. This is why breads and grains and simple sugars and candies and all of those different types of foods can have such a big impact on causing weight gain, because it causes so much of a spike of that storing hormone insulin. Where on the flip side, if you look at different types of carbohydrates like broccoli, this is not going to contain those simple starches and sugars that will cause your body to have that big spike in insulin. Granted, you will still get a small amount of insulin simply because it is a source of carbohydrates, but you won't get that same huge spike that you would with something like refined flours or refined sugars. Now, even if you do eat enough of those really satiating proteins and fats that would typically leave you satiated, if you pair this with those simple sugars or high amounts of starches, especially those refined starches, this will cause a subsequent really big increase in insulin and cause your body to not just store those carbohydrates, but also any of the fats that you consumed as well. This storing mechanism of insulin makes it so that your body has less energy available to it to actually use as fuel and make you hungry as a result. And the effects of insulin can last for multiple hours after a meal has ended. And this lack of fuel that's readily available for your cells within your body, because that fuel is being stored instead, causes those same issues as just simply not eating enough. Even though you have enough physically in your body, it's being stored and you can't access it, so your body needs to refuel and get that instant source of energy, which is where those cravings at the end of the day come into play. The third main mistake is that you didn't eat enough protein at dinner. And protein, along with fat, provides a really strong signal telling your body that it's full, it's satisfied, and you don't need to keep eating. Specifically, it triggers the release of something called peptide YY, which tells your brain that it's full. And this peptide YY, along with the CCK that's released in response to fat, combined have a really great impact on telling your brain that it's full and that you don't need to eat anymore. And when you eat enough of that protein and fat with that combined effort, you can make it so that you're not hungry for 3 to 5 hours, which of course would completely abolish those sugar cravings at night. And if you didn't get enough protein to signal that peptide YY, now, if you didn't get enough protein to signal that peptide YY telling your brain that it's full, then this just circles back to that first main problem where your body thinks that it needs to keep eating, and therefore you're going to get that urge to snack. Okay, this fourth one is probably a little contradictory to what you would normally hear from me, but number 4, you ate too much fiber. This is something I've been seeing a lot with some of my athlete clients. Now, let's put this into perspective. Fiber is really great for that short-term satiety. It does not cause the hormonal satiety that protein and fat do. The hormonal satiety tells your body that it's full for that 3 to 5 hour range, getting that long-term satiation. But fiber will tell us that we're full more in that immediate moment, in that 30 minutes after a meal. Reason why is because it acts on your stomach's stretch mechanism to tell your body that it's full. So the act of fiber helping with satiety really only lasts as long as it's in your stomach. Once it leaves your stomach and exits into the small intestine, that stretch mechanism decreases and you no longer have that same mechanism telling your body that it's full, and now you need to rely on the fact that you have the protein and the fat telling your body hormonally that it's full. But here's what can come into play, especially if you're someone like an athlete or if you're a male where you need to have more food in general in order to have your body be satisfied. If you eat extremely high amounts of fiber that would normally be really great for us, this could displace the protein and fat that will cause that long-term satiety. And although we need all three to get that short-term and the long-term satiety, if you load up on just the fibers from vegetables or from other foods and you aren't really getting enough of the protein and fat, then you are going to get those cravings later on. That's exactly what we want to decrease, especially if weight loss is your goal. Now, this isn't a problem for everyone. In fact, it's not a problem for most people, but for some people I have seen as a really big issue, especially athletes, especially men, where you load up on fiber and you aren't able to get enough of the fat and protein. And number 5, you're extremely stressed. Stress triggers our stress hormone cortisol to be released. And a study has found that after periods of stress, your body increases the secretion of that storing hormone insulin, which, as we know through those series of mechanisms, causes us to then feel hungry sooner and experience cravings. Okay, now that you understand the major mechanisms behind what causes most cravings, let's dive into what you can actually do about it to prevent it. Now, the first is, of course, to make sure that you're actually eating satiating meals and eating enough food. And this is sort of a loaded response that really goes beyond the scope of this video, but to simplify, what we really want to focus on with our meals is that protein, fat, and fiber approach. Now, this can be a really weird concept to wrap your head around, the idea that you actually need to be eating more in order to achieve your weight loss goals, but with the idea that snacking and any of the foods that you're going to snack on are going to be much more detrimental than the protein, fat, and fiber to your weight loss goals, it's crucial that we really are addressing this satiating factor so that we don't have that urge to snack. And with this concept, it's really easy to put together your meals in this way. I have a ton of recipes and all the details you can check out with the complete intermittent fasting bundle. I'll have that linked down in the description below. It goes over the A and nutrient timing, all the recipes you can use, and how you can make your own recipes that fit these guidelines as well. Okay, number 2. Remove those processed sugars and starches. This step in itself will have a huge impact on your weight loss goals, especially if you're already consuming daily amounts of those processed starches and sugars. And these can be a little bit sneaky. I've had a few videos where I dive into these sneaky health food items that contain processed starches and processed sugars, but just some to think about that maybe you wouldn't have thought would be detrimental to your goals. Things like a vanilla latte, bread in general, protein bars, and even those healthy desserts that maybe you get from Whole Foods or other places, they're still probably going to be packed with a lot of sugars, even if it's in the form of maple syrup and honey. Not that these food items can never be had, but especially if you're looking for a weight loss goal, and especially if you're having difficulties, and especially if you notice that you're really getting those sugar cravings at night, these are the types of food items that can really help by not having them on a daily basis. Of course, there is the whole concept of a treat meal and a treat meal structure, which I talk about with this video here. And depending on the person, some people might need to be removing more of those starches and sugars than others. This all comes down to the individual's carbohydrate sensitivity. Some people will release more insulin in response to the same amount of carbohydrates. But even just taking this as a stepwise approach and just slowly decreasing the amount of processed sugars and processed starches that you have, and then perhaps then taking a look at your diet from there, seeing what you really need to tweak will make a huge difference. Okay, number 3, assess your protein intake. You really might be consuming a lot less than you think. Obviously, I'm not a fan of calorie tracking or tracking your food, period. But if you feel that you might be under consuming protein, then you might just want to take a look at an example day, a typical day of what you'd normally eat, calculate up those protein amounts that you're getting, and see if it matches up with your true needs. We're not talking about calories here, we're just talking about the grams of protein. And when it comes to protein, there really is no daily specific need that everyone has, because this will be greatly variable depending on your stress level, if you're exercising, or even if you're recovering from an illness. This will greatly vary on a day-to-day basis, but you can at least make sure that you're getting within a range. Now, one rough estimate way to calculate your protein needs is by multiplying your weight in kilograms by 1.4. And for all my American peeps, in order to get your weight in kilograms, you can just divide your weight in pounds by 2.2. For example, if you weigh 135 pounds, then you'll divide that by 2.2 and get roughly 61.4 kilograms. You'll then take this weight in kilograms, multiply it by 1.4, and this will give you the amount of grams that you should be roughly shooting for. And in the circumstance of weighing 135 pounds or 61.4 kilograms, this will get you to around 86 grams of protein per day, or around 28 to 29 grams of protein per meal. Again, this will vary greatly depending on your needs, and there's even some research that is showing that some people do better off with a whole gram of protein per pound of body weight. So in that 135 pound example, then that would be 135 grams of protein. But at least starting off with that 1.4 times your body weight in kilograms, that's a really great place to start. And then from there, you can start to determine what it is is that your body really needs to feel satiated. Again, you don't need to be extremely specific with this number. The main goal of this is just to make sure that you're getting somewhere in the ballpark of what your body needs. And this is something I've seen a lot of my clients eating a lot less protein than they thought they were. So just going through this 1-day exercise of seeing what it is that you're taking in regards to grams of protein and calculating what your body needs, and then just adjusting your meals based off of that will help to make it so that you get enough protein for your body and therefore prevent those sugar cravings and snacking later on. Okay, number 4, cook your veggies. And this really applies to men and athletes, or if you are working toward gut healing, but that is a much different video. For the most part, from what I've seen, women can generally eat enough protein along with fiber in order to get their protein needs, regardless of whether it's cooked or raw. But if you're an athlete or if you're a male, then you might want to consider cooking your veggies so that it can soften those fibers so that you still get the fiber that you're looking for improved health, improved wellness, improved gut health, but you're also able to eat enough of the protein along with those cooked veggies in order to get that long-term satiety and prevent those cravings later on. Now, for example, if you're always having a kale salad along with dinner, then this is where you could just saute your kale, and that's a simple fix. Okay, number 5, address your stressors. Stress is something I talk a lot about, and especially if weight loss is your goal, it's something that's hugely important. Diving into the intricacies of stress, what causes stress, and how it affects your weight loss goals is something that's a little bit, again, beyond the scope of this video, but I did do a whole 7-part hormone balancing series that you can check out right here. I'll also have it linked down in the description below. But one very easy, very useful de-stressing tool that you can use is just to simply go on an evening walk after dinner. Being outside and going on a walk in general can really help to reduce those serum cortisol levels, which is that stress hormone. Plus, going on a leisurely walk outdoors after your dinner is really great for digestion too. And stopping that late night snacking that's completely working against your weight loss goals really starts with making sure that you have a satiating first meal, which you can get the recipe from one of my favorite fat burning and satiating break fast recipes right here. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. I come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.